To whom it may concern, and to my fellow patriots out there, you might want to hear my little talk because, I'm almost old enough to be Gen X, and I've seen a lot of changes in the USA, and half of my family survived communism, and they wouldn't be here. I would have never been talking to you. I would never had the experiences I had in this great country, which is your indigenous homeland, if it weren't for the outcomes of certain wars, namely World War II. And I could elaborate about that, but this video is basically, I want to warn all you decent folk out there, probably middle class, probably believe in America, probably take your family to church, and you have more like traditional, wholesome, like maybe, hopefully even Christian values. And I really believe that you should hear my talk. And I apologize that I'm not that very like articulate, and my channel isn't that elaborate. But there's a lot of changes going on in our country, and people are talking about a potential civil war or World War III and all that. And let me tell you, from my perspective as a person who, I'm not saying I know a lot, but my whole life I have been listening to stories about how we got here, and how in history, and how wars go, and we're pretty much already in a civil war, especially that, and we're pretty much on the husk or whatever, the very, very dawn of World War III. But let's take it one at a time and talk about the Civil War. The Civil War is mostly a war of words, a war of views, a war of ideals. You see, you nice families out there, middle class, probably go to church, believe in traditional values, inclined to vote for Trump or what have you. I don't think you guys realize, you probably live in an area, you probably live in a state, you probably live in a neighborhood where there's more like-minded people like you guys. And I want to tell you, from a person who's moved around so much, that I've been to altogether almost 20 different schools when I was very young. And when I've been through a few states. I'm very nomadic. This is a desert. I'm like a desert nomad. It's like one of my monikers online, like Reddit and shit. So anyways, whoop-de-doo, right? Oh man, my creds are so out there. I just want to let you family people know that you're probably oblivious to how much the other side, other people who are very ignorant, other people who are ignorant willfully, or they're just really uneducated, and they bought into this whole thing of orange man bad, and that this country is built off oppression, and the man is always sticking it to us, and capitalism and orange man bad, and and Christianity's bad, and it's bigoted, and religion starts wars. And like let me give you an example. Like, this is 2024. We had these Olympics were mocking Jesus, and that stems from a worldview of these ulterior, untraditional lifestyle persons get really offended when traditional folk like us tell them to cut that weird shit out. Like, what in the hell are you doing? Put your damn pants up. Don't do that around kids. That's some serious shit. I'm not mean to make light of it, but like they're since we're throwing it in their face, the absurdity of their debauchery, they're throwing it in our face. They're trying to get us, like how they feel like we antagonize them by calling them basically Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible. They're throwing it back at us to gaslight us to live up to like the hate mongers or the intolerant persons that we supposedly are in their worldview. And not only that, but oh man, I just lost my train of thought. But January 6th, the day that supposedly a bunch of right-wingers invaded the White House, right? Even though Tucker Carlson debunked that, that those people are pretty much let in like a freaking tourist tour inside the White House and framed that they're trying to bust a coup d'etat or an insurrection or whatever, right? A lot of us right-wingers or traditionalists, some of us are, I don't know if it's like, pardon me, I'm like an Orthodox Catholic. I don't know if it's like your local gentrified evangelical church, or if it's that people of lighter skin color are generally gotten shamed into like, oh, all serial killers or all mass shooters are usually of more fairer skin, or like it's almost as if us traditional folks, right-wingers, whatever you want to call it, like we're afraid to live up to this expectation of being like alt-right domestic terrorist vigilantes, like freaking the Oklahoma City bomber, or some kind of like, AKA fascist Nazi or something like that. Like, so in saying that about how a lot of us are trying to take the moral high ground, and we're all like, oh, we kind of sit back and we want it to play itself out, that society and how things are going and all the turmoil, it shows that it's BLM and Antifa and the left that's calling on violence, and that we're pretty pacifistic and law-abiding, and we support cops, and we're the pacifistic peace ones. But I'm here to remind you guys, especially to you middle class and family-oriented people and all you good people who will more likely vote for Trump, probably go to church, have traditional, moral, and even Christian, hopefully Christian values, that the Second Amendment isn't placed there to shoot skeet or to hunt, or it's not even necessarily there to defend your home. The Second Amendment of the Constitution is purposefully embedded in there to prevent the tyranny of, a lack of a better word, fucked up government. And you guys, I need to make this video, and I hope you're watching, because you guys have nice families, and you have posterity, and you want traditionalism and the American way of life to continue. And I'm very thankful of your ancestors who fought in certain wars to help me be here to talk to you guys. But I'm letting you guys know, because I don't have posterity and all that kind of stuff, so it's easy for me to look from the outside in and have I'm not saying better, but like a higher ground perspective of what's going on, having almost nothing to lose and getting into the mix just because it agitates me that there's a bunch of bullshit that's infringing on our constitutional and traditional way of life. And you guys, you're not going to have a posterity, and you're not going to have an American tomorrow, because like I was trying to say, the other side that's willfully ignorant as fuck, they're like if they're not out breeding you guys by having children, they're out breeding you guys another way. Whether you want to call it the invasion of all the illegal immigration coming over the border of various kinds, if you want to talk about indoctrination and ideology and propaganda, all the orange man bad, and how all this stuff that the left puts out to placate to this generation who's overwhelmed with minimum wage and college debt, and they have nothing better to do to sit around and talk about how the man is sticking it to them, and all these false egalitarian pretenses to engineer their minds to be inclined to socialism and stuff like that. And it's infringing on your guys' tradition. It's going to change your country, because I'm trying to say, from the outside looking in, I lived a life of before I knew better about traditionalism and the importance of what America's really about. I lived on the side of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I pretty much come from the gutter. If you guys are always had your nose in books in school, and you were working and has raising a family, I've been out and about getting in the mix of a lot and meeting a lot of different people in my youth and stuff like that. And the majority of people, they're either plumb ignorant as fuck, or they're willfully ignorant, or they choose to be ignorant from apathy. And even if they would possibly choose the right side, they're not going to get involved, and they're just going to live their own life. And they're already tired from work, and they just want to play, and they just want to drink and smoke and sit, or go do their free time activities and hobbies or whatever, their recreation, and people aren't getting involved enough. And so, but the people who are tirelessly working for our demise is like, you know, in the unseen demonic realm, which isn't a fucking joke. And these socialist freaking aristocracy, like, I don't know if you guys, you know, been following stuff, but Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, even like people like Andrew Tate, all these people are shooting off the hip with straight up truth and even hardcore research. And look at, they're getting canceled, they're getting fired, they're even getting betrayed by their own, you know. And especially Donald Trump, man, he's standing in the gap, trying to keep America. And if I'm not a political expert, because you guys know there's these world economic powers, the elitists, the globalists, the big bankers, George Soros, all these people who are starting a campaign of ideological warfare to convert the masses and the youth to ignorance and to their side of all the stuff I've been talking about, the false egalitarian pretenses, and to engineer socialism and to change the times and to change the traditional ways of American life. And I'm here as an outsider looking in, telling you guys who have families, who have a vested interest in your posterity, that want the American way to be going, that probably live in a secluded neighborhood where you're not really aware of how detrimental this is and how much the left is outbreeding us. I don't mean just outbreeding us, because I mean, like, you have all these bastardized kids coming from, like, you know, chicks that are kind of scantily clad, and they're hooking up with thugs, and the thugs go to prison, or they hop around from man to man. These chicks are busting out that welfare. And not just that, but I noticed traditional American families, not a lot of them, only like wealthy Catholics or something, they have a lot of kids, a lot of you know, smart people out there. They only have like 1 or 2 kids when they start a family. And maybe you guys live in a state that's really American still, and they honor the Constitution, and you own land, and you're raising a family, and you're going to church, and there's common decency. And it's not like, I don't know if you remember the show Jerry Springer. It's not that your house isn't like that, full of domestic quarreling and cussing and vulgarity. But I come from a world where that's the norm. I come from a world where, like, it's a bunch of kids who were unplanned, whose dads are in jail or missing, and their moms are in and out of clubs and bars and always hooking up with new stepdads, and having billions of kids with all sorts of different dads who all believe in the orange man is bad, that America is bad, and that you know, they're not Christian, or if they say that they believe in God, it's their own figment of their imagination. They don't know the difference between, you know, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and biblical characters. Are that historically ignorant because they're apathetic. They probably don't even know what the hell 4th of July is. It's just another excuse to get drunk. They don't care about American traditional values. They don't care about propagating it. They don't care about continuing it. They're kind of a freaking for lack of a better word, a parasitic infringement upon what this country stands for, because they're a liability for having bad views about life. They make minimum wage shit money and absorb a bunch of fucking welfare, and freaking they don't commit nothing but doing a half-ass job working at fucking Kmart, finding any excuse to screw another Sancho or get a cigarette break in. And they're not going to vote. They're definitely not going to vote for the right side. They just clog your fucking traffic, and they live their fucking life to freaking bust a nut and to smoke and drink something, and they don't give a flying fuck about American principles, continuing the tradition, not even giving credence and honor and reverence to our forefathers, our way of life, the holy Constitution, the infallible Word of God. They don't care about any of that, man. So I'm saying that you guys, you probably live in an area where you're isolated and kind of unaware of how much the encroachment of all this stuff that the left stands for is there at the door, ready to overtake America. And as patriotic constitutionalists who are pro-God and pro-country, we are standing in the gap of the very last remnant to preserve any common decency and thread of traditionalism in this country whatsoever. So I want you guys to know that. I want you guys to know when bad shit happens and the left smears their bullshit on our face, and people just all they do is shoot beer cans about it, or they can't wait till Jason Aldean leads the charge when Big Brother finally comes to our small town, and we're too afraid to be labeled and shamed as alt-right vigilante right-wingers. Like, I want you guys to understand that desperate times call for desperate measures, and we're losing our country. And even if this is 2024, the summertime, even if Mr. President Donald Trump wins, we only get 4 years of it, man. I mean, what's the long-term goal? How do we combat this? We got to realize that we're in a civil war. Let's say that the right really did just overtake, like bust the freaking Boston Tea Party and took the White House tomorrow. You got to understand that you're always going to be in a constant civil war of these low-clad ass fucks, that the world that I come from, that are always there to freaking talk shit on you, discredit you, call you this and that, steal your catalytic converter, try to impregnate your daughters, try to turn your kids gay, try to turn them into thugs or some shit like that, man. It's really these trying times, these upside down, shaking our society times with all this woke and all this fucking crazy shit. It's God's way to polarize everyone. Because everyone who believes in traditionalism, whether you're atheist, agnostic, Christian, or whatever, it's God's way of showing that we're all in the same boat. And no matter what, you could be as atheist as you want. You still live in a Christian country, and by default, you're one of us. And if you don't believe in this horse shit, this upside down shit, and inverted shit, and if you don't want to be force fucked into an electric car and watch what the fuck you say, and fucking say it's okay that your kids turn out gay, and that you get labeled a bigot because you don't want to put your dick in a tranny or some shit like that. That's where all this is fucking going. You know that's where it's fucking going, man. And I'm just letting you guys know, man, as an outsider looking in that has nothing to lose, I feel obligated, I feel burdened to tell you good people that we're all in this together, because I miss old America. I lived, almost 20 years in the last century, and I remember how that time was, and it aches my heart that stuff is never coming back. We are the very last remnant of any possibility of preserving any form of traditionalism, any way to keep propagating our species of ideology and traditionalism and God-given rights, God-fearing principles, and all sorts of right-minded ways of life. So I hope you guys watch this. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's dire, folks. This is getting to like DEFCON 4 kind of alert fucking status about what the fuck are we gonna do to preserve our way of life and our constitutional rights. God bless.